I've always thought that like athletes are completely different animals. And if you're a true athlete, you think completely differently. And so you need to be taken care of by people who think the same way. Otherwise, you're not going to be understood.
All right, welcome back to the Pure Playbook podcast, where always filtering through resources, and now we have another guest.
Yeah.
But resources and information, and always trying to ask better questions, get better answers. So parents, student athletes, we are starting to grasp quite a following, and which is super cool. So make sure you subscribe, follow us on social media. But without further ado, we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to introduce our awesome guest here, local in the community, state championship coach herself, Lexie Romeril.
Hi, guys.
Did I say that right?
You did.
All
you
right.
did.
I know
Dub.
the Canadians might pronounce it a little different.
Yeah.
You married into the Canadian side. But before we get to that, I'll let you tell your story. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been great to get to know you guys and be part of the Pure Athlete. So I'm happy to be here today. So I guess we'll just jump right in.
Sure.
You want to know the athlete side of Lexi
Well,
first, or what do you want to know?
I'll tell you what. Why don't you just tell us? Give us the come up.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? What'd you do? And kind of transition how you ended up to where you are today.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I was born and raised in Walden Spring. My parents went to Francis Howell. So that's not shocking to anyone that goes to Francis Howell to know that like
What was your maiden name?
Farron.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, my dad's Ron Farron, and any like teacher that hears that, like they're probably running and hiding.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, sorry, Dad, about that one. But yeah, so my parents met at Francis Howell.
Aw.
My dad played baseball. My mom was a dancer, and
We're learning things.
yeah. They actually met in detention, which is
Rebel
hilarious.
couple.
Yeah. Yes. Well, they'll beg to differ on that, but whatever. They met in history class, but they met in detention. Yeah, I was raised in Walden Springs. I actually grew up in the house that my dad was raised in. So it's a long history in this town for my family. And I started playing ball when I was 9. I was a gymnast, and I just kind of started getting really tall and growing like really rapidly, as some young girls really do. And my dad sat me down in our basement with this like giant dry erase board and was like, okay, I love you, and you're not any good at this. Like, you're just not great at gymnastics.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, let's try something else. And
Right.
he's like, yeah, let's try something else. So he drew out like a softball diamond on the dry erase board and was like, okay, this is like how you play softball. And so he just like started teaching me like the fundamentals of it on this dry erase board. And he was like, signed you up for this rec league. And it was out of O'Fallon. And he's like, let's just try it. And if you hate it, and we'll move on. And I didn't hate it. And I was actually kind of good at it. So I started playing, and I played rec for a while. And I really recommend that for young kids, like to play rec and just see like how it goes.
Yeah.
Families aren't dumping a ton of money into their kid at that point. And they get to just enjoy the game. You're playing like, 12 games and practicing once a week.
Yeah.
And it's super fun. You get to just be with your friends. I did that for a while. And then I have a younger sister who is 3 years younger than me. And she played ball for a little while. She played soccer. I did not want to play soccer. I was like, that is a lot of running. That is not for me.
Yeah, so they asked me, they're like, you ever play soccer? I was like, no, 90 feet at a time. That's all I got, 90 feet at a time.
Not it. And I just like never wanted to stop playing softball. Like I would go outside and play catch with my dad, and we would go to the cages, and I just like wanted to learn. And I started watching college softball, and just like wanted to be like part of that, and just like wanted to be a big girl that played ball. And
Who was your team? Who'd you watch?
I watched Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Alabama softball. At that point, they were playing a lot of really good softball. It was Alabama and Oklahoma, and Lauren Chamberlain was like the queen at Oklahoma, right? Like she's still the queen to me. Like, God,
That's why you wore these colors.
Right? Yeah, it has nothing to
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, baby. Yeah, go Oklahoma, right? And Alabama, but no, those were like the two schools that like that's all I really knew, and that's what was being shown on TV, right? We didn't have ESPN Plus, we didn't have like all of these other programs that were showing college softball, and so every once in a while it would be on ESPNU or on ESPN2, and so we could watch it. And then in June, the College World Series was on, and so those were the teams that were there consistently every year. So that's who I was raised watching. And that's important later in life. Okay, so just remember that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Locked in.
Yeah.
Foreshadow.
So I became friends with some girls, and I played feeder softball for Howell, and then I started playing travel ball, and that became like a bigger world for me. And then I started playing for the St. Louis Nemesis, which is no longer an organization. I ended up coaching for them later, and that's how Defiance Elite was born.
Oh, okay.
Which we can talk about that later too. But it's very like intertwined. But I ended up playing with the same 8 or 9 girls from the time I was probably 13 or 14 until I went to college. And that was just like probably the most special thing that I could ever imagine. And we all went to Howell.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
we played together at Howell, and we played together over the summer, and none of us played any other sports. So that was like our world. Like that's who we were.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously I played at Howell. I played travel ball. And then I went to college and played ball. I didn't know anything about being recruited. Nobody taught me anything about that. I mean, my parents didn't really know. My dad played really high level baseball, but he didn't know that world. I mean, he just like stumbled upon being recruited to go to college. I mean, like he was literally playing in an international, sorry, Dad. I don't know like how it worked for him, but he played overseas, and then he came back and he was playing in a game, and like some college coach was like, "Hey, come play for me," and he was like, "Okay,
yeah,
right." So
sounds fun.
Yeah, right. I'll go to college. So he did that, and so my parents like they didn't know how to help me with that, and my coaches like they pushed me to go play JUCO, and so I had some JUCO offers, but like I just didn't want to go through it again in 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of being ignorant about it, and I just didn't want that life. And I also knew that JUCO ball was going to be really hard, and that's just the truth of it. And I also was just kind of like, I don't really want to do that. So I didn't, and that's a big regret that I have, to not go JUCO, because I probably could have been projected to go higher after JUCO, and have a better career after that. But God works his magic, and he does what he does. And I ended up going to the Concordia University in Chicago. And I went with my best friend, Kristen. And I had a lot of trauma when I went there. And I ended up going for like, I don't know, 9 or 10 weeks. I don't know how long I was there for. And it was a very, very hard time for me.
How so?
I was super homesick. I was just miserable. I'll be honest, like I don't know what happened when I left.
Yeah.
I just couldn't be there. It was just like the most miserable time of my life. The transfer portal didn't exist for me, and so I wanted to leave. And I remember calling my parents and being like, I have to leave. Like, I can't be here anymore. And they were like, no. What does that mean? Like, you have to go to school, and you're going to go play ball, and like your season's like in a couple months.
Right.
And I was like, the only place I really feel safe is like on the softball field and in the weight room. and I can't be there like 12 or 24 hours a day.
Right.
And they were like, well, like, how can you do, like, what help? Or like, let's try this. Let's figure something out. So I talked to my coach and I went home for like 2 weeks. And I went to counseling and I like talked it through, whatever. And my counselor was like, maybe you need a job. Like, maybe get a job while you're there. Maybe you just need to like be busier. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea.
What every athlete needs to hear.
Right.
Hey, just be busier.
Be busier. Like, let's just put a Band-Aid on this, right? Let's just try to fix this. So I went back, talked to my coach, and I was like, okay, let's find me a job. And she was like, I don't think so, sister. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I just tried to like work out more, and I was at the field a lot. My roommate was my best friend from St. Louis, and she was like, dude, you're a mess.
Yeah.
Like, you're not eating. I could not consume enough calories because I was just like insane. Like, I was just, I'll be honest with you guys. I did a lot of research on it when I came home. I don't remember being in Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I was so traumatized by being there. And it had nothing happened to me. Like, people ask me this all the time, like, was there an occurrence?
Yeah, was there foul play?
Right, was there foul play? Was there an occurrence that made you
feel that way?
Lose your mind, basically? No, I was just so ridiculously homesick. So this is crazy too, because I'm a relatively healthy human being. I lost like 55 pounds.
Oh, goodness.
I was like freaking shredded. And for no reason besides like I was just really sad.
Yeah.
So and this story goes but really well at the end. So everyone hold on to your pants. This is going to go really well. Okay. So
I think it's important you're going through this though, because there's 3 pillars of what we always talk about, and it's physical, mental, and relationships.
Yes.
And you're encompassing all of this into one, and you're not the only one that goes through this. And there's plenty of girls, probably a fair percentage of young female athletes and young athletes across the board that are going to need to hear this and attach to this. So I'm glad you're going through it.
Yeah.
Again, something that we didn't know, and here we are just unfolding it. So I'm grateful you're going through it. So yeah, hang on to your bootstraps.
Everybody hang on. It goes really well. Like I said, the transfer portal didn't exist. And so the NCAA has a lot of rules about when you can leave and being released from your letter of intent and things like that. So I went in, talked to my coach, and I was like, I have to leave. Like, I'm really sorry. I know that this was, a commitment. And to me, and being raised in an environment like being here, right? Like, those commitments mean something.
Right.
And it was really hard for me to walk in and say, I can't do this anymore. So she was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want? Like, how can I help you? And this poor woman, I mean, Coach O'Malley, her name.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's an amazing woman. She really just is the best. And Kristen ended up staying there and playing for her for 4 years. And she will even say, like, she's an amazing coach, amazing woman. And again, God works in mysterious ways. Like, I really think that I was sent there. Kristen and I were sent there together for Kristen to have a great career there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need you to release me from my letter of intent so I can look for somewhere else to play. Because I have to go home. And there were a lot of good universities here in St. Louis that I could transfer to.
Right.
And she's like, okay, so I had to go to the AD. Again, my mind is in shambles, and now I have to do all this work to find somewhere else to go. And also, the softball season's in the spring. So I haven't even played a season yet in college. So I contacted Megan Lamberth, who was the assistant coach at Maryville at the time. And she basically explained my whole situation. I just said, I'm so homesick. I need to come home. I'll live at home. I'm not worried about a scholarship. I just want to play ball. And she's like, I can't talk to you because you're not released from your letter of intent.
Right.
So I went into the AD's office and I was like, you got to release me. And the assistant AD, she was like, I can't, like, you're a freshman. Like, I can't just, like, let you go. We need to talk about this. And I was like, there's nothing to talk about. Like, my mind is made up. Like, I gave her, like, the letter of my counselor here in St. Louis. I gave her, like, my parents' number. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You will not save me.
Yeah.
Like,
Before, after.
right.
Like if that doesn't tell you.
literally, yeah. I was like, you can talk to Coach O'Malley. Like, you can talk to, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to give you the weekend to think about it. And I was like, you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You're done. Like, I'm done. And she's like, I can't release you until Monday. So I just like sat in my room for like 2 days and just like, I literally, this is so funny. I watched Last Chance U. That was like my favorite.
I love that
That was like my
show.
favorite
Yes.
show when I was there. I like binged the whole series. I was like, I just sat in my room and Kristen's like, are you gonna do any homework? And I was like, for what? Like, I don't even go to school here. Like, I don't know what you're
I don't
talking
even
about.
go here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
She doesn't even go here.
Yeah, so I, to make a long story short, I eventually got released. I called Coach Lamberth and was like, I'm released. Can we talk? And she's like, yeah, we can talk on Tuesday after your release is processed, whatever. So that eventually got processed. I withdrew myself from school and called my dad. My dad's a big hero in a lot of these stories. My mom's an amazing woman too, but like my dad is a big hero in a lot of these stories. And my mom fielded a lot of these phone calls of me being like, I'm not going to school anymore. I can't do this
She was the
anymore."
shoulder, he was the solution.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah. They were a great team for me. I called my dad and I was like, hey, I don't go to school here anymore. I packed all my stuff up. Can you pick me up today? Now I lived in Chicago. I was
Right.
like, that's a 5-hour drive.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, yeah, I'll come after work. So he like left at like 3:00, picked me up by 7. We packed the truck up and came home
There
that
you
day.
were.
And there I was. Came home and I was like, it was like a weight had been lifted. Then I visited Maryville the next day and met the team.
Don't mind the fighter jets flying over our,
Yeah, what's going on with
our
that?
world right
I
now.
don't know.
It's kind of a cool sound though. I kind of like that.
Little ASMR break for
Yeah.
you guys.
Don't do the slur. She out here gonna do the slur.
Anyway, 5-hour drive. He did it in 4 hours. He must be a hero.
No, the man's a hero. Like my mom was like, your dad's gonna come get you. Like it's gonna be fine. Kristen's like, you packed the room up already? And I was like, I'm out of here, girl.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
you don't
done.
understand. Like I'm done. But yeah, then I went to Maryville. Like I don't know, probably the next day or 2 days later, and met the team, met the coaching staff, and I tell Megan and I are still, Coach Lamberth, Megan and I are still friends to this day. She went on to coach at Kansas, and I tell her, like, she saved my life. Like, she saved my career. She saved my life. Like, she's just an amazing person. And I signed with Maryville as a walk-on and played 4 years there and learned everything about the game from playing at Maryville. It was amazing. I lived at home, saved a ton of money. Kids, if you want to live locally and save on room and board, it's not. I crashed on my teammates' couches all the time. It was great. It created an amazing environment for me, and it really shaped the coach that I needed to be. And
What position did you play?
I was a corner infielder.
Okay.
But I served mainly as a pinch hitter, and that was a great role for me because it was something that I had never been in my career as a player. I was a starter for
Just
a
walk
long
up and hit
time.
some dingers and call it good.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But no, but I served as a pinch hitter, and it was different than a lot of roles that I had played throughout the rest of my career because I was a starter, and as a pinch hitter, like, it's sink or swim.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're there to sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're there to save someone else's batting average, or you're there because someone else is struggling, or you're there to succeed because no one else can.
Produce, yeah.
And that was a really eye-opening experience. And then circling through my junior year at Maryville, the head coach became Courtney Conley, who was on the 2012 Alabama team that I watched when I was a little girl, and she won a national championship with them. So then I got to meet like
That's
one
so
of
cool.
the idols that I had. So through all this trauma and all this turmoil and in this career that I never knew was going to exist, like, I got to meet like really cool people and have this amazing experience.
Yeah.
So
That's super awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
That's in a lot of that, you know, I hope people hear everything that did happen, but I mean, I like to pull out the intricacies of it because the one thing I tell, and I did this at my wife had her dance banquet, the high school team she coaches. And I said something, she just stepped away from St. Dominic's coaching staff, or she's going to be in the background, but she's no longer head coach. And of course, I wanted to say a few words on her behalf and how proud of her I was. But the first thing I did was I started off and I said, first of all, I said, you ladies back there at the back table, I want you to always be proud of yourself. But what I also meant by that is being able to stand up for yourself, being able to know what you want. Like, look, I'm done. It's not that I'm not trying. It's not that I'm quitting. It's just I know what I want.
Yeah.
I've weighed the options and I've made a decision. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're using it as a cop-out or a scapegoat, but it's like if you are in a situation that you are so uncomfortable in, one, talk about it. You did. One, get the people around you to be in your corner. They were. And at the end of the day, I tell our team this all the time, and some of the athletes that I personally coach, is it's like, you know where stress comes from? It's the lack of making a decision. Like, no matter what it is, it's like, you know, family members or school situations or on the field or lifting or not lifting or, you know, unfortunate situations. It's like, yeah, but this happened. But there was a decision to be made, even though something bad might have happened. Like, it's the lack of making a decision. And for you to just be like, you're wasting my time. Like, this is made, and standing up for yourself is huge. But also to the point that I kind of mentioned earlier is it's like, you're hearing it here from somebody who's going through it. So for some of you that maybe have a student athlete out there, or if you are a student athlete listening to this, you know, don't use this as ammo to get yourself out of a scenario you just don't like. But if you are feeling this way, you're not the only one.
Right.
And this is why it is a big pillar as far as the physical side. You talked about dropping a lot of weight. Like, that stuff happens. So if you're a friend and you see somebody going through the same thing, like all of a sudden they look really shredded. You know, they're not the stout person maybe they were when they come in. Like, that's a sign. And then on the mental side is it's like, you know, you watch people fall up, their appetite goes down, or, you know, they're just not happy. They're sitting in their room for 2 days, you know, just doing absolutely nothing. There's a lot to be taken from this that we do want to bring to the forefront, which is why we do things like this. We had no idea you were going to share that story with us, and I'm grateful you did. But at the same time, too, make the decision, move quickly, because you don't ever know. Persevere through it, but you never know what comes of that. And like you said, the story that, you know, kind of bringing it full circle from who you've watched, and it's like, would you have ever had that opportunity if you didn't? Like, what if you stayed at home and went to SLU?
Right.
Like how would that have changed things? So it's like everything happens for a reason, and sometimes that's a vulnerable statement. Some people don't like that, but I'm on that page. It does.
Yeah, it was a hard time while I was going through it. And now here that was 2016. So fast math is how many years? 8 years later. So is that right? Producer, fact check.
Right there. Yeah.
Yep, 8.
7.5, 8 years.
8 years later. And
Finger counted.
Yeah. So it's 8 years later, I can say that was a great learning experience. And I can sit here and say, like, it makes sense now. Everything does happen for a reason. That is a vulnerable statement, because I can say it now because I survived it.
Yeah.
When you're getting there and you're sitting and you're going through it, did I want to say, yeah, I hate softball and I want to quit softball and I don't want to do this anymore? Yeah, because that was the easy way out.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier for me to be like, well, I had a quick and tough, situation, and so I'm just going to throw in the towel, and maybe college softball isn't for me. But you
could have quit on yourself.
Exactly. But I knew that, like, the little girl that watched all that college softball, like, she would have been so mad that I was like, I had one quick speed bump and, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So it is, and I share this story a lot with my athletes, because, like, I don't want them to think that, like, transferring schools or running away is always the answer, because it's not. You don't like your coach, suck it up.
Yeah.
You don't like that you're not playing, suck it up, work harder.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're not the best. When I was at Maryville, I was not the best. I was surrounded by Division II All-Americans. I was not the best. I grabbed my bucket in my little pitching chart and I learned.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm the coach that I am today.
Yeah.
Because I learned. But there's a lot to be said for, like, pushing through situations, but also, like, don't just throw in the towel.
Right.
Like learn to change and learn to grow. And so I don't know.
If more people knew what sports are actually grooming, if more student athletes even knew, and if more parents provoked the learning of what sports are actually grooming you for,
Yes.
it's not just social
No.
skills. It's not just, you can be a little selfish in this one, and it's like all of those, 5 a.m.s, all of the 2-a-days, 3-a-days, all of the hard conversations, all of the friends getting pissed at you for continually missing ground balls or not, breaking coverage or whatever sport you're in, and people holding you accountable, and but it's also teaching you a lot of things that you're going to bring relevance to a younger generation. It's not all about you. It's not all about us as an individual. You can be selfish in the decisions you make, and you should be in all the right ways, but you're not going to understand what it's grooming you for. So if you're not the best at that, you're the best at something else.
Exactly.
And this is going to bring out of that. This is going to bring that out of you. You just don't know when. And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, whoa,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I had no idea that was coming. And if it wasn't for that, it's like, I wish I could go back 6 years and be like, hey, I kind of want to do this again because I know what's going to happen. And
Right.
let me do this over.
Right. So yeah, that's there's just been a lot of lessons for me as an athlete that, just you keep them in your back pocket and you're just like, oh, you meet so many athletes as a coach and you're like, I have something to share with you, and I'm grateful for those because I do have them that they directly affected me, and I'm lucky to have them so that I can share them and hopefully help if they are to go through them. I have an athlete right now that she just committed to go to Creighton, and she's a homebody by nature. I talked to her parents, and she's like, her dad said, I'm so happy that she's going there. She's gonna have a great experience, but I hope that she loves it. And I could tell by the tone of his voice, like, I hope that she's happy being away from home. And if she's not, it's not a life sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always move.
And and growth comes from the most discomfort a lot of times too. So it's like, and I think your being, and as we're learning more about you and who you really are, I mean, we've met a couple weeks ago, like this is still a new relationship for us, but it's very cool to hear how you do bring those things up, and you're not just all, I mean, I'm all about the win column. I'll be the first one to say it. I ain't having fun if I ain't winning. And
I love to win.
There's a whole thing with that. But also I'm not so blinded. Like there's dimensions and perspectives to that. And here's how we're going to win. And being able to do that and share your story and willing to and know the dynamics has a huge, huge advantage when it comes to the culture of the team that you're leading to be as successful as you were this year in taking them to state, in winning a championship. House first
state championship. Yes.
So there's a lot of deeper meaning to this, and I hope a lot of coaches, because there are a lot of coaches out there, they over recruit, they stack the teams, they are all about the win column. There's nothing else that matters. We're 2-a-days or this, and you're 10 minutes early or you're late, or which that's a whole different story. There's some plausibility to that, but you lose focus of these are people. And we say that all the time on a lot of these podcasts, and some of y'all are sick of hearing it. It's like they're more than just a jersey number. They're more than just a class. They're not just a freshman. They are people.
Yeah.
And the inevitable is real. It's either there's life after sport or you move on. But if you never teach them what's coming, there's more opportunity for athletes to have that experience.
Yeah.
And not that it was right, wrong, or indifferent, but being able to prepare them and encourage them to where if it's just a little uncomfortable, they get through it and they grow from those stories, and having people like you in their corner and in their dugout. So that's super, super important.
Yeah, something else that kind of goes along with the lines of they're not a jersey number that I want you to share is your injury thing that you shared with us the other day.
Sure.
I think it's really important for athletes to hear it from you, and then we can deep dive after that on it.
Sure. So the other day we were discussing concussions, and during my time at Maryville, I suffered my 5th concussion as a quote elite athlete. So that's like as a varsity plus athlete. And I had 2 in college and 3 in high school. And at my 5th concussion, I was not able to pass my baseline test
Yeah.
with my trainer. And so that meant that I was like not passing like the literal baseline test, and I was getting dizzy. I was when I was passing the like balance and memory portion, I was failing the conditioning portion.
Yeah.
And by failing, I mean like I was literally vomiting. Like I was not able to be conditioned at all. So that was obviously concerning to the athletic training staff at Maryville. And so I had to go to a doctor and see them, and I won't like talk about the names and all that stuff. Yeah. But I went to the doctor and they did an x-ray of my head, and then they obviously went and consulted me, and I was not prepared for what they were going to talk about.
Right.
So they put me in this room, and now mind you, you're talking to an athlete, which when you and I, when the three of us had discussed this, you obviously didn't know like previous emotional trauma that I had gone through.
Yeah.
But they put me in this room, and you're talking to an athlete that has played the same sport, no other sports forever. Put me in this room, and they say, okay, well, this is your 5th concussion. This is like the picture of your brain. We see like some possible damage. You can anticipate short-term memory loss, and so we're going to recommend that you never play softball again. And I was like, by myself, because I had no idea what I was going into.
Right.
Didn't bring my parents, didn't bring my coach, didn't bring any of my teammates. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
You don't know me. All you're doing is looking at this picture on the screen of my head that you took 3 days ago.
No other options.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. And I have 1 season left of my entire career. And what we know now of women's sports is like only the elite of the elite get to go play pro.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm playing Division II softball. I'm not going to play pro.
Right.
Yeah.
I get 1 season left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, not happening.
I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
So I called my mom after, and I was like, okay, well, that didn't really go well. And this is what he told me. And my mom's like, well, Lexi, he's a doctor. And I was like, well, Mom, I'm not going to listen to him.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, maybe we should, maybe you should come home and like, let's chat about it.
Yeah, where's Dad?
Yeah. My dad's
You
like,
didn't tell me what I wanted to hear.
my dad's like, you saw a doctor today? So, anyway, I go home, I sit down with my parents, and we're talking about it, and I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, there's no way there's that much damage. Like, honestly, I'm playing a non-contact sport. Yeah, okay, I'm obviously hitting my head a few too many times. But my parents are like, maybe we can get a second opinion. And my parents have always been, like, very open to me being in tune with my body. They have always listened to me. They've always been, allowing me to be like the researcher of what's going on. They know that I'm the only one in my body.
Right.
And so they support me in whatever I decide. They're guiding me in what I decide, but like, they're not going to be like, no, this is the way, and this is what we're going to do. So I go back to the training staff, and I'm like, okay, this is what they said, and I'm not really down with this. And so they referred me to a physical therapist. And I did a full semester of physical therapy for a concussion, and which was insane to me. I didn't even know that this was possible. And it was amazing. Very difficult.
Yeah.
So tough. So exhausting.
Yeah.
I would go to physical therapy, and then I would go home and I would sleep for like days.
Yeah,
Not really. That's an exaggeration. But like, I was already like kind of tired from like being 20 years old.
Right.
But then I would sleep for like 13 hours.
Right.
And just so tired. And I went twice a week for probably 3 or 4 weeks, and then I was able to go once a week. And they did really cool stuff. I mean, they like worked on the base of my neck, and we did memory stuff. We did eye work. We did lot of balance training.
Yep.
A lot of balance training. And it was a miracle, honestly. I was able to pass my baseline test. I was able to pass all the conditioning. My trainer was like, did you go to like a genie? Like, what is going on? So it was great. And I got to play the rest of my career. So.
Yeah.
Specificity and intention
Yeah.
is key when it comes to that. You know, we see our fair share of concussions here. And our other athletic trainer on staff, Tyler, is very, very in tune and done a lot of research, was asked to speak on it not too long ago too, but has done internships with a doc here locally. And so that is something that we are on the forefront here too. And even with, you know, we put you through the pure athlete evaluation, and to that we are adding, everybody needs a baseline concussion test done anyway. And we're going to add some things to that baseline so that when this happens, we can be a resource for that, because that story is very real.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and this is not, we've got a lot of great doctors, a lot of great critical care. So don't hear what I'm not saying and don't change the story. But there is so many times where there is a fair amount of, because you have this, the book says this, you're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, clinically, ethically, maybe that is in play. But at the same time, again, dealing with a person, it's like, is there another option? Like, does she have a brain bleed? No. Okay. Does she have structural damage to the cranium? No. Okay. Is there, you know, did we do MRI and CT? Is there proof of cortical damage? No. Okay. So we're having all of these functional issues. What are the options? Like, you're not playing now. We cannot release you. Cool with that. Like, even here, it's like, no, I want to keep you on the field. I want to keep you on the ice, whatever it is. It just can't be right now.
Right.
And if you're not going to listen to me, you're going to listen to Dr. Lark. You're going to listen to, like, you're not playing now. But I am going to give you 120% effort to get you back. Here's how we do it.
Yeah.
And be very methodical about it.
I think like having the intention behind safety and behind the having the person and knowing the athlete as a human being is so important. And that's something that I talked to the staff at Maryville about too, was like, I don't need to play that season. Like, I understand that I may not play again.
Right.
That's fine. Like, but I wanted them to understand that, like, I want to be healthy. And it was very alarming to me that I could not pass these conditioning tests. And for me, being an athlete my entire life and working out every day and being who I was, to go into this doctor's office and for them to just like shut my life off was like so rude. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. And for them to not be able to give me a plan. And so, yeah. Oh, ding, ding, ding. So, the physical therapy allowed me, whether I played softball later in life or not, allowed me to get back to my life. Yeah. And so that's so useful. And you guys having the concussion specialists here is like, you understand the athlete, you understand what they're going through, and you understand their lifestyle and how they work.
Who they are.
And who they are. Because whether or not they go back to their sport, they're going to be involved in something.
They're a future
physical.
spouse. They're going to have kids. They're going to have, like, 100%.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway from really both of those stories is just not accepting no for an answer. I think that is kind of also my toxic trait is like, you can't tell me I can do that? All right, we'll bet. Like, try again. But like, that is so important for really any athlete. But especially right now, I feel like female athletes are having to say that a lot more and sticking up for themselves of what they deserve. And that's why we have the recovery nights for right now. We've done a lot for dance teams. Now we're doing all other sports. But like, that's why. It's because you have to stand up for yourself. You have to say like, no, I don't like this, or I don't like how you said that to me, and be okay with that. Because at the same time, yes, you are a human, but you're also talking to a human. And so you can, like, to a doctor or something, say like, hey, take your little clinician hat off and talk to me like I'm your friend. Right. And that's what has to be done here as well.
And that's why we're unapologetically trying to serve as many athletes as possible. Because through that, when we do that and the services we provide, there's a cost to that. But what that cost is going to do is allow us to give back to these scenarios, to whether it's build more offices for more resources, whether it's to donate to mental health, like all of our merch right now that we sell, 10% of that goes back to student health or student athlete mental health, where it can go towards concussions. But at the end of the day, I truly believe in why we're doing this and why we created the Pure Athlete is to bring those 3 pillars, physical, mental, relationship, give somebody somewhere they can go, they can trust. And with exactly what you just said, we want to know who they are. We want a relationship with every athlete, with every family that comes in here, so that maybe if there's an emergency situation and you get that answer, we can be somebody that we're in their corner and at least they can vent to. Or we can be a second opinion, and if we can't be the second opinion, we have a Rolodex full of people who can be that we can send them to.
Yeah.
Or if we have an athlete, we could have we saw a couple female soccer athletes today, and it's like maybe they go through the same story, and we go, you know what? You might want to talk to Coach Lexi about this, because she shares a similar story, and bring them into relationship with people like you and who we've had on the podcast or within the Pure Athlete.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to that you're exactly right. It's just, you're dealing with a person, and I think there needs to be, it's not even bedside manner. It's like, don't sugarcoat it for me, but here's the worst case scenario, Lexi, is you're done.
Right.
However, if you want to have a 4th year, if you need to stay a 5th year to have your 4th year, here's bare minimum how we start.
Yeah.
And honoring that, because, and for you student athletes too, just know that sometimes you have to look that dead in the face, and even parents, and the parents have to kind of dissipate a lot of that and hold some of themselves back and not be so crushed and kind of stand in uncertainty for a second, but just know that I might be done. However, you have to push through that, and you can't just quit on yourself.
Yeah. And I've always said that, like, I've always truly, truly felt, and I've been raised and lived, and my whole family is like athletic, right? Like my one cousin played professional soccer. My other cousin played really high level soccer. She played at West Virginia, and she was going to go play pro. And then I don't really know why she didn't. So Drew, if you're listening to this, like, we have a lot of questions. But you know, my parents played really high level sports and all that stuff. So I've always thought that, like, athletes are completely different animals. And if you're a true athlete, you think completely differently. And so you need to be taken care of by people who think the same way. Otherwise, you're not going to be understood. And your questions are not going to be answered.
Right.
And you can't relate to NARPs. And you just can't. And people that don't understand you, like, it's like speaking a completely different language. And
the thought process is so different.
Different.
The perspective, the come from, the drive, the motivation, the intellect. It's like, we might not be the smartest people in the world, but 100% we're going to be the most driven, and our thought processes can be very complex into how we've come to that and why we're doing what we're doing.
Completely. And sometimes it comes off like offensive to other people. Like the way that we think and the way that we talk. And like, I've met other people.
Speaking my language.
Or they think you're crazy.
Or they think you're crazy. Like, for example, I was at Erin's hockey banquet, my husband Erin's hockey banquet last night. And I was at a table and I said something, and I could see on other people's faces, they were like, this woman is insane. And I was like, okay, well, my like mental note,
LARP.
like that was athlete Lexi, like talking, like dial it back a little bit. Other people are not the way that, like, wired the same way. So in terms of like clinical care and the way that we take care of our athletes, like having a place like this where athletes taking care of athletes, it's just going to go so much better.
Yeah.
So as we go through maybe 15 minutes or less here.
Sure.
Let's jump.
'Kay.
So for those of you watching this, we have 2 coaches at the same high school sitting right on each side of me. And
Roll of Ikes.
how dare I wear purple between 2 Howell coaches?
Yeah, your skin is probably burning.
No, I feel great.
Oh God, it smells in here.
I'm wearing your husband's color, and it's great.
Whoa.
You had a great run this year with your ladies at Howell.
Yes.
You were the head softball coach at Howell High School here in, what do they even call it? O'Fallon, St. Peter's. What is Howell? Defiance.
So the Snapchat filter says Boone, and I just think it's so funny.
Oh,
Boone.
okay.
Yeah, it says Boone, Missouri.
Technically St. Charles.
Yeah.
So
technically.
first state championship for Howell's softball team.
Correct.
How proud are you of that?
Insanely proud.
Yeah.
Insanely proud. As an alumni, this coming fall will be the 50th team of Francis Howell softball. So 50 years of Howell and 1 state championship.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's super. I mean, just how many seniors do you have on the team?
We graduated 9 seniors.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many juniors do you have coming up?
I think 4 or 5.
Okay.
I need to check my roster.
So,
Me, I'm like, I don't know how
I'm
old you
not
all are.
100% sure, yeah.
so transitioning into a semi-younger team.
Yeah, so we'll have 9 returning varsity players.
Okay.
Yeah,
So experienced, but maybe not 9 seniors.
correct.
But okay.
Yeah.
So what? How did the year prior go?
Well, the year prior was insane. They took second in state the year prior.
Okay.
So, and then our goal was and last year was actually my first year as the head coach. So,
Like I said, just walk in and hit dingers. I mean,
right. I mean, but once you hear this resume, like I was kind of sweating when I got hired.
Felt.
Yeah, they took second the year prior, and their goal was obviously to make it back to state because they had basically the same
Unfinished business.
unfinished business,
and the same roster.
major unfinished business. Yeah, same roster, except for I think they graduated 2 the year before.
Okay.
And 2 or 3, and we ended up playing the exact same team that they played the year before.
Who'd you play?
Blue Spring South.
Okay.
And we beat them 8-0. So
Girls were on fire.
yeah, they did not expect, and it's quoted, so I'm not over quoting, but like they did not expect to play us the way that we played them. Yeah, that game.
Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. Well, and congratulations to you to walk in on your first season. And yeah, that's kind of a storybook, but I think as this podcast has developed too, I think a lot of, and the girls still have to play the game.
The girls have to play the game for sure.
However, I hope they all realize, and I hope you realize, and I'll tell you the same thing. I hope you're proud of yourself because it does not happen like that without culture. I 100% believe that. And so kudos to you for bringing the culture. And I've never seen it. I wasn't there, but I have a feeling if we go and ask that entire team, I would say they're probably even tighter than they were the year before.
Well, thank you.
There's a lot of culture that I know that has to happen to be successful at whatever level. I don't care if you're a 13U team. We won a World Series. My uncle and I coached a Pony World Series championship team. And a softball team, my cousin Brianna's softball team was very, very successful in the state of California. They're like number 9 in the nation. And I look back at some of that and hearing your story and some of the other coaches, we've had Jed and we've had professional baseball players and football players on too. And their most successful seasons, they've talked about culture and the morale in the dugout or in the locker room.
Yeah. We do talk about culture a lot, and there's, I think every year is different, and I think that's like something that a lot of coaches need to latch onto is like you coach the team, you have to coach to the team, they don't play to you, right? And so every year is different, and in speaking with our leadership committee for next year, like we already have plans to have a big season this coming fall too. Yeah.
So let me ask you from this perspective, what resources do you? I wouldn't say that maybe you don't have, but what resources would you say that a lot of these high school athletes, you hear them needing or looking for, or whether it's healthcare, mental health, time management, social skill, like what resources do you think these student athletes need now more than ever today?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what we had talked about the other day with the 3 things that I see big with my athletes are longevity. That's what they want in their bodies, injury prevention, and recruiting help, right? And those are the 3 things that they really need to look into. And with the longevity, I mean, nutrition and hydration is not taught enough. And I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but I'm already teaching them softball skills, softball fundamentals, and just talking, if they're saying it at them.
You're not talking to them.
Yeah.
You're talking at them.
I love my athletes, but they'll say that. And so they need resources in those different ways. And I think your athlete evaluation, and please feel free to share my data anywhere. There's no HIPAA violation in any sort of way in that way.
You heard it.
Yeah. HIPAA, please make sure that my stuff is shown. But the athlete evaluation, I mean, there's no one else that's doing that. And that will prove injury prevention and longevity outside of hydration and nutrition for softball for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't coach or play any other sports, so I'm sure other sports as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to my husband
Athlete
about
movement's
hockey,
athlete movement.
Yeah. I don't play softball anymore, and it still will help me.
Right.
So those are probably the three biggest things that we're lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like longevity as a human, like after you are done playing a sport, like you still want to be active because like we've talked about, you're an athlete. That's like your name. Like your team name is who you become for however many years. And like you are always going to be a softball player. You're always going to be a baseball player. I'm always going to be a dancer, like deep down.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to transition. And so getting that data before you even have to transition, just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
And I tell this to all my athletes, and I said this to you the other day. I was like, when people start care and they start to understand why I'm trying to change the stereotype of chiropractic, like I get it, but why that is so important is it's a lifestyle. And I tell them all, I was like, your 35, 45, 55-year-old self is going to thank you. And a lot of people don't understand why. Well, what's that mean? You just come in, you get adjusted, and like, well, I don't even know, I feel fine. And it's like, well, but there's so many more dynamics to that, which we do in that evaluation. But and it's I'm not gonna sit here and plug chiropractic, but I mean, it just going back to how you take care of yourself, you need to choose a lifestyle. And if they knew what it all entailed, and a lot of them do, like 95%, I think, of the athletes who have done that, their parents go, oh man, well, how do we fix it? And then they start, and then they see it, and they get it. We get to talk nutrition, high-level nutrition with high-level athletes. And what does that look like? Well, drink a gallon of water a day. Well, what if you're diluting yourself? And is it game day? Too much water can't happen. What else is in it? What else are you eating? Well, they carb load before the game. What sport are they playing? Well, they're baseball players. Do you really need to carb load for you're not playing soccer, and there's so much of that. But the recruiting side, now we're talking about relationships. Like, how many of these girls and guys know who are in the stands, and if they do, how do they act, and do they go introduce themselves? And when they shake their hand, how does that feel? Do they have a wet noodle, or like, are they shaking? Like,
can they write an email and spell check it and capitalize things, and do they have correct punctuation? And like, the amount of times that I've gotten an email for, hey coach, can you, which I love this, can you check this email? I'm so happy to check it. Of course I would. Like, I would love to. And I'm just grateful that they're having someone check it, honestly. And I'm like, have you ever written an email in your life?
Yeah.
Like, good morning, person.
Yeah.
Like,
use their name.
Right.
What's everybody's favorite word in the vocabulary?
What do you mean?
Like, anybody, like, I mean, you won't answer it the right way, but you will after I say this, so you'll agree. But it's like, what's everybody's favorite word in the vocabulary of any language? Their name.
Oh, I thought you meant like to type.
Like, if I said,
I thought you were about to like
how are
trick
ya?
me. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I could see you at the store, or if it's like somebody that I want to engage with, like, who would it be? Like, my biggest thing is like, my goal is to go to lunch with Rick Hendrick.
Okay.
And I'm not a starstruck person. There's entrepreneurship, there's leadership, and things that he has done. But it's like, I have some people who I could probably get into that vicinity and shake his hand, and I could say, hey, how are you doing? Versus, hey, Rick, grateful to meet you.
Right.
Like, and use their name. So it's like, you write an email, it's like, hey, coach. And it's like, no, coach, Lexi.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
let's do that.
If I see someone that like in the grocery store and they're like, hey, Lexi, I turn around, I'm like,
Yes.
Or when you see somebody again, or you say hi to somebody, and they're like, hey, how are you? And you're like,
yeah, you don't know who I am.
You seriously forgot my name.
You should have let me walk away quietly.
But the scouts and people like that, and future coaches and other coaches, other programs and things like that, it's like they're thinking that. They're like, are they paying attention? And if you'll wow them if it's like, hey, Coach Rick.
Yeah.
Holy cow. It's like, okay, you're paying attention. Yeah. It's huge. It is huge. But it comes in the structure of an email, like you're saying. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So what's the goal for next year? Let's wrap it up. we could do this all day long. We're going to do part 2 as we get closer to the
I
season.
know we should chat all day long,
Yeah.
but we're not going to. We have to
We'll do
get to
part 2 in the
lunch.
dugout.
Well,
So fun. We should.
hell yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm good.
You guys,
gosh.
all right, Erwin,
What?
you're on it. What's up?
a vlog. We could vlog.
Yeah, we could do a
Vlog it.
vlog.
Pure athlete vlog.
All right, Erwin, if
Episode
you're listening,
1.
we're doing a crossover episode.
No, he's gonna be so down for
Yes,
that.
he will.
The goal is to make it to the Final Four again, just so we can have this in writing. It is March 21st, right,
It
of
is.
2024. So summer stuff hasn't even started yet.
I love that goal. You know why?
Yeah.
Because
Why?
anything can happen.
Yeah.
And you know what else is cool about that?
We're talking about anything can happen. I literally said it was a goal. So like I feel like I'm gonna get there.
Exactly.
Not
You're
anything can
manifesting
happen.
it.
But the biggest thing is you're respecting the process, and you're at least giving yourself an opportunity to be there again.
I feel like you're kind of selling me short a little bit.
No, not at all.
Okay, listeners, let's make a poll. Do you think we will make it to the Final Four or not? And just know I will hate on you if you say no. Okay.
I love the goal.
Yeah.
I love the goal.
Yeah, I just think that we have the defensive power to do it. Offensively, I really don't know, but
'Cause all you have to do is give yourself an opportunity. And if you
Yeah.
put yourself in the vicinity, you get to the Final Four. I mean, everybody's goal is to win. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people's like, okay, Lexi, what's the goal? Well, we want to win it again next year. Well,
yeah,
no
I mean, that
shit.
would be
Like,
obvious.
Yeah,
thing.
everyone wants to win.
But I think
Yeah.
there's again. I think way deep into things. I love I love the psychology part, even from a coaching perspective. But to come out and say, we want to make the Final Four again.
Yeah.
I hear it's like we're going to make the Final Four because I want to have an opportunity to
Yeah.
be there again. Like there's
Yeah.
a difference between confidence and cocky, and we did a whole podcast on that. And so the
Ooh,
goal
love
of
it.
that. I think it's not even realistic. Realistic's not the word, because then I would be selling you short. If I just said that's a very realistic goal, coach,
Yeah.
then you'd be like, oh, I'd expect you. So veto the poll. I think you know where I'm coming from with this. But the confidence that you have, it's like, no, we want to be there again because
Yeah.
it's going to give you an opportunity to fight for exactly what
For
you want.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's possible. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm buying my own lunch.
Last thing before we go, though, I do want you to touch on Defiance Elite because we didn't get to talk about Defiance Elite.
All right, here's my elevator pitch on Defiance Elite. It's a beautiful program. It's coached. We have 3 teams. We have a 14U, a 16U, and an 18U team. And it's basically created, fully funded,
Oh, wow.
by a wonderful guy. And
Does he prefer to stay unnamed?
he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he does. And basically, it's to create an opportunity for elite athletes to not have to pay like elite expenses.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So we don't really care how much money you have. If you can play at this level and compete at this level, we want you to have the resources to be recruited and for you to go play in college.
To take that dynamic out of that, I think is super sweet,
Yeah,
too.
I think that's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's awesome.
Super cool.
It it also is really helpful for us as a coaching staff to not have to play into those politics at all.
Yeah.
Take the wallet out of the roster.
Correct. Our coaching staff, all of the head coaches played college softball, and they're all female non-parent coaches.
Love.
Yeah. So we don't have any daddy ball coaches. No hate on dad coaches.
Sure.
It's just that we have found that it works better for our dynamics.
Yeah.
What you're trying to build. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we love Defiance Elite. We only have 1 team per age group for a reason, and we want to keep it elite right now.
Yeah.
We don't want people to buy into our program and just pay to have our name and to have the resources that we provide for our athletes. We treat them like they are college teams. So they get all of the gear that a college team would get. They get a bag, they get cleats, they get turf shoes, they get practice
Wow.
uniforms, regular uniforms, like pretty much whatever you need.
Right.
We'll provide it for you. They have to pay for their own travel, like hotel rooms and stuff, but we don't travel like a ton.
Right.
And we do media nights, and we run a recruiting camp. Last year we had like 15 universities come and
Wow.
see our players. And if you're not a Defiance Elite player, you can come to the camp, but you have to pay to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're giving our athletes the resources to be able to go to
That's
college
awesome.
and play. So yeah, that's pretty much what Defiance Lead is.
That's a hell of an elevator pitch. I love everything about it.
I love Defiance Lead. I love everything that it is. I love everything that we have created it to be. It is really my passion project. My next goal is to be able to buy us a facility. I actually was talking to Kristen, my roommate from Chicago, and some of my other friends, Courtney Kenyon, who played at Howell, Maddie Villeneuve, who played at Howell, Kaylin Haas, who actually I coached her when I was freshly out of college. She plays at Jeffco now. She coaches with us. We created this, and we all are together and in on this, and so we want to be able to provide a facility for them to train and work out. And we were just kind of talking the other day, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna buy a gym, and they were like, yeah, you're insane. So I told my husband, and he's like, whatever. I don't care what you do.
Send it.
Yeah. Like I said, the man says like 6 words a day. So I don't care what you do. Those were all 6.
Whole day maxed out.
Yeah, maxed out on the day. So guess I'll meet with a realtor soon.
You don't even have to tell me you love me. Just tell me I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
That's
so whatever.
fine. So last question on Defiance Elite as we wrap up. My stomach's growling currently.
Mine too.
So do you have any roster openings? Who are you looking for?
We do have a roster opening. We have 2 roster openings that I know of for our 14U team. We need a pitcher and we need an outfielder. So if you know of anything, we play at the A level. We travel about 4 times a year, and then we go to Panama City Beach, Florida for nationals, and that's a week tournament. That's, I think, July. I want to say it's the 14th through the 20th this year for nationals.
Okay. So there you go.
Super fun tournament, and if we win, we get a big surfboard. So I've always wanted a surfboard.
Surfboard. That's a song.
And we'll get a little surfboard and put it in this office. So if we win,
A little baby surfboard.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope to I hope we continue our talks to be a part of that program and be a resource for you guys.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
can talk more on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who knows? I'd love when I get to stuff like this. I love attaching to the story, and I would love to just be able to fund a whole facility for you guys.
Yeah.
Can't do that yet.
Yeah, we can't
will,
do that yet,
but
but
maybe we can
maybe-
collaborate and figure
Yeah.
out how to do it.
It would be really cool to have a satellite office in our facility, and like I know we're like way over time, but we're gonna have to cut back on all my jokes. I didn't make that many jokes this time.
No, you didn't.
The vlog's gonna have to have more.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vlog is going to be
Yeah.
it's
It's gonna be like
epic.
MTV Cribs. I'm gonna be like, welcome to my dugout.
If you don't, I'll be
There's the
Upset.
Gatorade.
For
There's
sure.
the water.
Yeah,
sure.
no doubt.
But no, the dream is to have like our own like media facility,
Yeah.
so we can have like media days, and then we can have like our like a workout area, and then we can maybe put like a little satellite space for you guys in the corner, and then our Pure Athlete partnership is like
Complete.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to be a part of it. So we'll just let that develop. Let us know how we can be a resource, however, across whoever. We'd be grateful to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing in the community is really great for all athletes already. I mean, you have grown so much just from when I met you 3 weeks ago already. So
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, we could sit here and talk all day.
but
We've
we
talked
have
enough.
lunch to get to.
We do have lunch to get to that Coach Lexi's going to buy. So
Tap to pay.
see ya.